I guess the thing that ramped it up and really brought everything to the head was the whole purity culture thing. And me very deliberately and adamantly calling out the people that were telling me, all of those things didn't exactly have sex lives that they were happy with. And so I guess it really called like everything into question. And I lumped it in with a lot of other things that they told me that I realized that weren't true, like Santa Claus. And, not that they told me that as well as being it was just like it just got lumped into like oh, these are the fairy tales. I get it now. This is
but Santa Claus is real.
No, that's not what I said. I said that it got lumped into like those childhood narratives of
yeah,
things
but it sounds like you're dissing on Santa Claus. Like what the hell? Like
I'm not dissing on Santa Claus.
Dissing on Santa. I leave cookies out every fucking year, and I can't do that now because Santa doesn't. It don't ruin everything for me.
My bad.
Yeah. This why women ruin everything. He's ruined Santa Claus too.
Ruining Andrew's childhood here live.
Right. You're wrecking it. What do you mean that fat old guy was my dad? What the hell?
Oh, that's terrible, man. That is just terrible. Okay. All right. So what I guess I don't actually understand purity culture, but maybe that's
it's like a big deal in like the Pentecostal more parts of the things. And
those are the nutcase, so that grid one.
They're the metalhead Christians. I've systematically gone through and broke down all of the sects, and I've kind of decided that non-denominational are like the garage sale Christians, and then you have your Baptists are like the potluck Christians, and Pentecostals are the metalhead Christians. There's always a mosh pit every altar time. There's different characters in the denominations, and I think Catholics are like the goth Christians. They're about drinking the blood, and so
all right,
Christians. But the purity culture that she's talking about are the loonies who are like, oh my God, you said a swear. Oh no, you said a swear. You did it.
You need to be dead to the world. Yep.
Yeah. You drank a cup of coffee. You smoked a cigarette. What the hell? They're the over the top nutcases. And what they do is they turn Christianity into a legalese instead of into what it's supposed to be. And so they actually pollute the message because it's not about purity that way. So. But yeah, that's what purity.
Maximum virtue signaling, basically.
Yeah, well, in a way, I mean, some of them don't even talk about that publicly, but there's part of an institutional culture which is just like, it's bizarre. It's like, if you eat a double cheeseburger, you know what I mean? You're destroying the temple. They're just fucking weirdos. And most of this has very little to do with Christianity itself. It's always the little cults which spring up within it.
That's interesting. I to be honest with you, I guess I've never considered that because
you're not a lunatic.
Yeah, I'm not a lunatic. And growing up, I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, right? I went to the same church for decades, and it wasn't unusual to see the men get together after service on Sunday and go have a beer together. And a bunch of them smoked. There'd be a whole bunch of them out there smoking, which is why I never understood anybody's problem with you smoking, Andrew. I was like, I mean, it's not like they were doing it.
Well, they're just picking. They're just trying to pick something, right? Like, I guess so. What can we attack you for? There has to be something. You know what I mean? There has to be something here to attack you on. And so, kind of these prostitutes who, like I say often, they sucked 100 dicks and then reformed, and they're like, who are you to judge me? You smoke cigarettes. It's like, well, I feel like you're kind of equivocating a little bit there. I feel like one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah.
But,
No, that seems accurate.
Yeah, seems a little on the ridiculous side, But okay, fair enough. Having a Marlboro Red, and that's like swallowing a stranger's load, I guess. I guess that's what we're doing now. So, yeah. But that's all. It doesn't. Nobody has any legitimate criticism of it, honestly. Maybe some people who are like, I just wish you were a little healthier or something like that. But it's mainly just used as a criticism to say, well, who are you to judge me? That's really all it is. Who are you to judge me?
Yeah. So what about the body is, because I hear this all the time when I kind of like, I've actually heard this in my chat when I've said, hey, I don't have a problem with Andrew. I don't have a problem with anybody smoking or drinking. I mean, it's their deal, right? None of my business. And I'll say, well, your body is the temple. And I'm what's the answer to that, Andrew? What's the
What does that mean? Does that mean I can eat it? Does that mean I can't eat a donut?
Yeah.
Can I eat a donut? Can I eat a double cheeseburger with bacon on it? By the way, can I breathe oxygen? Like, just the act of breathing oxygen is aging you. It's like but this is the legalese portion, and it's why I hate Protestants so much, right? Well, I don't hate them, but I hate some of the shit that they believe, and not all of them even believe this, right? But the ones who do, who are insane, what they do is they kind of pick out a little legalism, right? But they can never really define it. They can never really tell you kind of the ins and outs of the legalism. Just kind of like, well, if you can avoid bad thing, you probably should. Whatever that means, you know what I mean? There could be, for instance, I've asked Protestants this question. Let's assume for a second that you're in a lot of pain and you're in an area that doesn't have painkillers, is it okay to smoke crack? Right? Like the doctor says, well, that would be the best way to keep him still while we do this surgery or something like that. Give him some crack. Is that okay to do? And they're always kind of like, well, yeah, in an extenuating circumstance, that's fine to do. And it's like, okay, well then you gotta kind of wheedle down when these things become appropriate or when they don't become appropriate. And the truth is that that's why you should always look at these things as holistic, right? So inside of orthodoxy, the belief is that sin is a sickness and the church is the treatment. That's what the church is there for, is the treatment. They don't really focus too much on kind of the ancillary idea of, well, if you had 4 beers, then that was worse than 3 beers. And if you had 2 beers, that was worse than 1 beer, right? What they focus on instead is what are the actions and movements that you're taking which are leading you to sin. Well, it's directly possible that almost everybody probably who smokes cigarettes is probably not leading them to sinful behavior. To be perfectly honest, right? But if you're smoking crack, that probably is, probably is. And so that's why you probably should avoid legalisms. It's just kind of not a good idea. And so we kind of tangle with Protestants on this. They don't really have good answers. You know what I mean? Because they don't really understand what that means. It's not the idea is not. I've actually heard Protestants say drinking wine is sinful. I'm like, well, so Jesus was sinning. What are you talking about?
It was a different kind of wine, Andrew. Come on, you're splitting hairs.
Or you can get the take that, oh, you can do some of these things, but they just can't be fun. If they're fun, then it's a problem. Then you're reveling in sin or something like this.
They get really knowledgeable about it too, like about the whole turning water into wine, and they would say, "Oh, Jesus only did that because it was safer to drink wine than water at the time."
Yeah, right, exactly. But the thing is, when Jesus turned water into wine, it was for a party. It was for a celebration.
Yep.
right? They were like, we don't have any wine for this big party, for this celebration, and we want some. He could have turned water into water. But by the way, this is really stupid too, right? Because couldn't he just have purified the water?
Yes. Yes.
Right? Like, it seems like a big error, right?
Mm-hmm.
A big hole in the logic. Like, he could have just purified the water.
Logic failure, that is for sure.
Yeah. So it's just it's stupid, and that's why I just don't care. I mostly just don't care what they say, because I don't know who falls into it. Well, I do know who falls into it, but ultimately, I just kind of laugh at them because I think it's stupid. It's just stupid. It makes no sense.
So, interesting stuff. We were talking originally about the patriarchy, and we had kind of gotten moved on into that, and I kind of forgot where we were now, because we've had so many different. We've got like a lot of stuff going on in my chat out there that apparently, I guess, Flow State had a show with your buddy getting his side of it and invited you, and I don't know what that's all about. I put it up there. I don't really care.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, hang on. I'll throw it back up there. Where is it? I don't know what. I don't know why it's being brought up here, but let's see. Here it is. There it is. Not really. I just heard BO's side. Andrew was welcome to do the same. I tagged them both, and it's like some back and forth going on in the chat about that.
Do what? What side? The guy got the fucking retard got mangled, and that's the end of it.
So hard.
That's the end of it, right? So yeah. I mean, there's nothing more for me to do. Like, the guy was demanding it, and I was like, fine, go ahead and make me thousands of dollars while I completely eviscerate your stupid ass, and that's exactly what he did. So I consider the matter closed.
Yeah. Okay. But we had talked about how in the patriarchy the word submit is really important, and we were kind of had some pushback on that, as always, with the idea of submission. Not from Michelle. I think Michelle kind of gets it, but some of the people in the chat were kind of pushing back on it, and. Yeah, Michelle's actually been very based today.
Thank you.
So, her takes, but yeah, and I think she wants to. I think that eventually she wants to debate you, Andrew, but she's scared of you. So.
I'm not scared of him. I want to be his next open relationship meme. That's all. And I wouldn't fault him if I did.
Wait. Are you in an open relationship?
Oh yeah, I have an open marriage. And I know how much you love.
Why?
I know how much you love.
Why?
Why? I mean, just I want to.
Okay, so is it both of you or just you?
He could do whatever he wants, but it's mainly me.
Ew.
Yeah. So you see what I mean?
I mean, come on, let's be reasonable here. So how can
now you're going to put my head on your stickers?
Yeah, but like, how can a man? This is an honest question for you. Okay, so. How the fuck could any man have self-respect if they let their chick fuck other dudes? I really don't understand how you can be a self-respecting man and allow that.
They're probably not hanging their self-respect on the sex life of the woman that they're with. They're probably but from somewhere else.
Yeah, but I think that for men, self-respect also comes from how your peers perceive you.
Sure.
And there's never, ever going to be a time where the poorest kind of person born in Rwanda who has a wife that is exclusive to him is not going to consider himself to be more respectable than a dude who lets his chick bang other dudes, right? I mean, like, honestly, I could never envision for a second that wouldn't be the case. I can't rationalize how, and I've tried. Because I've had many of these discussions, right? And I've never been able to actually rationalize how it could be that a man could have self-respect and do that. I don't get it.
If I can attempt to steel man you, you're saying I don't understand how somebody can, let their wife sleep with other people and like it because somebody else somewhere that I don't know might think that they're better than me.
Well, wait, he likes it too?
Oh yeah, this is like a part like this is
So
why I say I don't.
he's a cuck? So he's a cuck?
I don't recommend this. This isn't for everybody. We do have particular kinks where it makes it work for us. I don't recommend this to other people. This is our thing. We are totally weird. Totally weird.
Yeah, no, I get that part, but I mean, but he's a cuck, is what you're saying. Like, definitionally a cuck.
What's your definition of a cuck?
So I would have, I think it's multi-definitional, but I'll give you kind of the most charitable that I can. The first is that you let dudes bang your chick. That would be a cuck. Or a person who unknowingly to them raises another man's children because they were lied to about paternity. So the one gets at the root word of it.
Sure.
And then the other one gets at the commons word of it. And the reason that in the comments they're calling, the reason in the comments they're saying that if you let other dudes hump your chick, the reason that would be cuckoldry is because the assumption there is you could again be unwittingly raising somebody else's child, right? That's why they would call it a cuck. So.
Right. So I believe the actual definition of a cuckold is somebody who has an adulterous wife. Adultery would be, you can define that as sex outside the marriage, but there is usually some sort of unknown factor. This is something that is very open between my husband and I, and there is no unknown factor. Before we opened our marriage, I had surgery. There are no children that are going to happen. Before this even started, I even saw the doctor and even came up with a plan of how to test and handle those things. My whole thing is reasonable people can have sex very safely and reasonably, and we have the resources to do so. As for the slang term of a cuck is somebody who is just we covered the unwittingly thing. This is somebody who just let somebody bang their wives. Well, then strictly by that slang definition, then it's okay, it is what it is. But I don't base my life off of Urban Dictionary. A cuckold.
It's not. It's Merriam-Webster. So that would be Merriam-Webster cuck 202 verb to have sexual relations with a spouse or partner of someone else.
Okay.
That would be a cuck.
So strictly, yep.
So that's not Urban Dictionary, right? That's and the reason that would be included is because all words have a defining in to go into what the definition is. The defining in is going to be the root, and the way that words are used in the commons are always going to refer to the root, right? Or where it begins, like frickin' for fuck, for instance, right? These types of things, they always have a root. But in this case, in the verb setting, it's to have sexual relations with a spouse or partner, and that is at least to Merriam-Webster. Now, I mean, you can be when you're talking about semantics and definitions. I guess you can kind of define it however you want. There's not much I can do about it, but I would say that it would be a really hard argument to make that in the commons when somebody says the word cuck that they don't mean dude whose wife gets humped by other dudes.
Sure. And I wouldn't argue that that's not what that means. I say, okay, what is a cuck? And then whatever definition you're going off of, I'm not going to argue that he's not. If it is what it is.
And how long have you guys been married?
12 years. How long have you been married again?
I think pretty close to 14. I want to say, or more.
I thought we were pretty close. It sounded like from where I've heard you.
I don't ever fucking remember. I don't remember because I don't give a shit. A long time. Yeah. At least over a decade. But I think like 14.
Yeah.
No, I don't ever remember any of that shit. I don't remember anniversaries. I don't remember birth. I do remember my two of my daughter's birthdays because they're very close to each other. But other than that, I always have to get reminded. But yeah, I think right around there. Okay. So, but how long were you in an open relationship?
This one or any open relationship?
No, the one that you're married.
Lifestyle or just this marriage?
Just this marriage.
Just this marriage. I'd say it was always understood that it was going to be open, but we spent about 3 years establishing. I had another baby, and then after that, I'm not really interested in opening up. And it was probably about a year and a half afterwards that I had the baby that I said we should we should start looking to open things.
Oh, gotcha. So, I mean, this lifestyle, this is not something that you'd want your kids to do.
And I want my kids to, have the lifestyle that they want. And I don't think that's the direction that they're going. Like I said, I'm pretty weird. I openly admit that I'm pretty weird. And I'll even speak to the opposition that it's probably you're better off going that way usually. But what I want is for people to really set up the relationships that they want so that they can have the commitments that they need to have in them. I want people to actually start saying what they mean what they say, and stand by those things. And right now we're in a world where you can kind of bail out easily. And so you really need to establish what you want to be doing for the rest of your life.
Okay. Well, let me get to the heart of why I have such a kind of disdain for this lifestyle, which is external to just the feeling of, let's say, disgust, for instance. Because you can just feel disgusted in anybody's relationship, I guess. It's not much of an argument, right? My problem is that anytime I've kind of engaged with what I would call degenerates, in this case, just to be completely honest with you, I consider this full-blown degeneracy, right?
I understand.
Anytime that I have, what I've learned is that if I reduce this, it's always the same thing. When you say I want people to have the kind of relationships that they want to have, what that actually means is that, full stop, you literally don't give a shit about sexual morality at all. An example of this. Assume for a second, I got to do it, right? But assume for a second that there was a brother and a sister, and the sister couldn't have kids. Would you have any moral objection whatsoever to them having sex with each other?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
How come everybody always has to think about it?
It is something we kind of ponder about, honestly. And we actually start, because I think sex is morally neutral between two adults. I think it could get pushed one way, the other. Like if it's two just normal adults that aren't in any sort of committed relationship and there's nobody else that needs to know about it and they decide to go have sex, that they can go ahead and go do that. Now, if one of them's cheating, I think that pushes it the other way to an immoral sexual encounter. I think if
why would that be immoral? What would make that immoral?
Because it goes against whatever relationship boundaries the other person has set up if it was understood that they were to be
but why should we adhere to any of those?
Because that was the standard. That was the understanding that person entered in willingly with the other person, and now is then violating it. That makes it immoral.
Yeah, but it's a subjective standard. So who gives a shit, right? So if they go, well, you know what? I changed my mind, and I think that cheating is not immoral, so I'm just going to do it. Like what actually
he decided to basically end his relationship with the understanding it had at that moment, and decided to go against the relationship.
Yeah, sure. But what would make it objectively? What would make that objectively immoral?
I don't believe in objective morality.
Right, you don't believe in objective morality. So there's no possible way that you could ever give a moral reason for why it would be bad for a brother to fuck his sister.
No, I wouldn't give any objective morality to sex at all.
Yeah, so, I mean, but you couldn't even give a moral reason, right? Even a subjectively moral one for why a brother shouldn't fuck his sister.
Oh, I think I could definitely say it would be a bad idea. I could say it would ruin the type of relationship that they have and the type of relationship that should be preserved that is also precious.
Well, it could do that, but it also may not. Most likely would, but that's the case with open relationships, right? It most likely is going to fail. 95% of them do.
Yeah, that's because monogamous people go in and play and fuck up their own relationships.
Well, I mean, maybe, but if you're just going from the most likely scenario is that almost all open relationships fail. So if it's just most likely this is going to be a bad outcome, so you shouldn't do it, then you shouldn't be in an open relationship because that's most likely going to have a bad outcome, right?
Right. Well, here's my thing. My whole thing on what you just said there with like 95 of them fail is just like, yeah, because 95% of the people are not open. They're not those people that actually belong in that lifestyle. What happens?
Yeah, but I would just make the same argument for incest. The reason that most of those relationships failed because it's not the right brother and sister, but if it is the right brother and sister, it's going to work fine, right?
Well, I wasn't really saying like that. It's right because it works. I was also weighing like an impact of what it would have on like their their lives and the current relationship. So I wasn't saying that it's wrong just because the relationship fails. I'm saying it's wrong because it's going to have an overall negative impact in their life.
But so does having an open relationship by the numbers. It's the same criticism.
Okay.
So essentially, any criticism that you would levy against incestuous relationships, whether they be societal impacts, personal outcomes, or societal outcomes, you can levy the exact same criticism at open relationships, and it would actually be worse. I think likely the rates of incestuous relationships that work out might even be higher than open ones.
Do you have any evidence to support that at all?
Yeah, I think that the failure rate, it's hard to document, of course, right? Like it is for open relationships.
To document.
But yeah, it looks like the failure rate is 80%. And then for open relationships, 95%. So then that would indicate that. Now, mind you, right, when it comes to sociological studies, I'm going to be maximum charitable here and say, I think that our sample size distinction here is not going to be very good because the amount of people who would admit to being in an incestuous relationship versus the amount of people who would admit to being in an open relationship, definitely the stigma towards one is much higher than the other. So I think that the numbers you would get would be kind of wildly varied. But I would say that it's probably not any higher than 95. I'd say at least 5% or 3% must work out, just like in an open relationship. So the criticism would still be the same either way.
But your criticism is basically you should do it because it won't work out, as in the longevity of the relationship won't proceed.
No. I'm saying that brother fucking the sister is immoral, and in Andrew Wilson's society, you get put against the wall for that.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Right. So in Andrew Wilson's perfect society, you get the wall. So if that's the case, right, and I'm saying it's objectively immoral and it's been divinely commanded that you do not do thing, right? You're saying, well, I don't believe in objective morality, especially when it comes to sexuality, but I don't believe you. And let me explain why I don't believe you. Do you think that it's a problem for a person to pick up roadkill off the street and have sex with it?
Do I think it is a problem? I think that's gross.
Yeah, I know you think it's gross, really, but is it immoral?
Is it immoral?
Yeah.
I would say it's immoral because there's like I wouldn't want like chlamydia rabies to get released somehow. Like, I mean, it's the same reason why I don't think people should.
Okay. So they a company creates a digital machine which can scan the body of the dead animal to determine whether or not it's going to give you a communicable disease.
Okay.
And you have that device. You scan the animal. There's no communicable diseases. Is it immoral to have sex with it?
I can't say it's immoral. I just have to say
you can't say it's immoral. Okay, so then let me ask you. So then let me ask you this. So a guy lives alone with grandma, and they live way out on some island somewhere. Okay, and grandma dies. She croaks. Okay, and he digs up her body frequently and has sex with it. Is that immoral?
Yeah, that one.
Why is that? Why is that immoral?
There's like a human decency aspect to that.
Wait. But not to fucking your sister? There's not a human decency aspect to that?
There is, actually. Which is like kind of why I want to think about it a little bit more. Because,
I would say that there's a human decency aspect to fucking your sister or roadkill or a dead body, right?
Yeah, and that's why we see things as gross. Like, there's actually a mechanism in our brain that sees like people doing other things like as like repulsive and gross, and like I can actually like
open relationships. The thought of somebody fucking porking your chick.
Hey, nurses don't think that people vomiting next to them is gross, but I would be hurling along with them.
They do think it's gross, right? I mean, they would prefer not to clean it up. That's just part of their job. They still think it's gross. You can get used to something which is gross, but you're never going to lose the fact that you think it's gross. But in this case, what's really funny about this is it's like, okay, so if we then move to, well, there's something in your brain that tells you something is disgusting and you should follow that intuition because then it becomes a moral intuition, well, then it would still be immoral to be in an open relationship because most people objectively have an intuition that is disgusting. Okay. So like all of these roads lead to shouldn't do it, even from your worldview, right?
Well, I don't necessarily think that people should do things because of my worldview. I actually think that people should do things based on their worldview. I don't think people should be policed on my sensibilities or your
So you think I
sensibilities.
should be emperor of the United? You think I should be emperor of the United?
Oh, I lost you. You lost him too, Grid One, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure.
I think he's outside, so he may have walked too far away from his house.
Okay.
He'll be back. That was a great. Hey, by the way, I always give Andrew, when I stream, I give Andrew the link. So if he wants to come in, he can come in. And he chose to come in. So I did not set you up.
No worries. No worries. No worries. All good.
It was hilarious, though, that you said you wanted that I kind of wanted to debate Andrew. And then there's Andrew right there.
Yeah, not exactly how I wanted this to go down at all. Like, I definitely want to be prepared and want to think about these questions.
He's all off
it's good practice. Huh?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now? Sorry about that.
I can hear you now. I'm gonna step away from the camera for like 2 minutes, guys. Just keep going. You guys are doing great.
Yeah. So I was just saying, like if I were to declare myself unilateral emperor of the United States, and then all sexual deviants get put against the wall, obviously you would think that was bad, right?
I'd be going against the wall. Yeah.
But so I mean, you would think it was bad. So I don't think that you would just say, when you kind of make the blanket statement of, I think people should just follow their own morality. I mean, obviously, if that was me following my morality, you would not be for me following my own morality. You would want me to follow something more akin to yours, right?
Your morality on other people. To do that, you just had to become emperor of the world.
Yeah, but what's wrong with
right now? As we have it, we all actually do get to follow our morality. We already have the rules in society that we need to play by, and they are.
No, you don't.
Need to be of age.
You don't get to. No, you don't get to do. You follow your own morality. I mean, you can't be like, I'm going to go out and rob somebody because I think it's moral.
Can I just finish though? Like right now, we already have the rules of society that we have for sex, and they are that you need to be of age and need to be consenting, and you needs to be another human being. So we already have those set up.
No, that's not true. So let me give you some additional rules that you kind of left out. If you fuck your sister, you go to prison. If you fuck your sister, you go to prison. If you fuck your father, you go to prison. No, in all states, it's legal.
Rhode Island actually decriminalized it.
No. In Rhode Island, you still actually can go to jail for doing this. You can't go to jail for hiding that you're doing it, but if you make a public declaration, you can still go to jail. You know what else? Here's some other sexual morality codes. For instance, you can't marry multiple people. That would be polygamy and bigamy. So it's like kind of this idea of, well, the way that we live right now is you can sexually just kind of do whatever you want, man, and no one cares. Well, that's not really true. The truth is, no, it's not true. You go to jail if you help your sister. You go to jail if you help roadkill. You go to jail for dead bodies. You go to jail for all this shit.
Yeah, we definitely have our rules that we already live by in society. And the thing of it is I'm not breaking any laws. Until you're willing to come to my house, until you're willing to come to my house and drag me out by my hair and sew me to death, I don't care. I'm already following the rules.
Yeah, but you're not. I think you're kind of deviating here, right? Because if none of those things from your perspective are immoral, then shouldn't we decriminalize all of them?
No, because we already have the objective rules for our society.
Yeah, but so what?
They're already
if
set.
If it's not immoral, then you're imposing.
We have the things we're allowed to care about and are allowed to prosecute our neighbors about. Like, for instance, I don't care if my neighbors are gay, but I care if their music's too loud. But I don't care if they suck dick every Thursday night.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is okay, I get that you have, you say I don't object to these societal laws, but here's the thing. It's very inconsistent to say this, because if you are neutral on sexuality, then if I say you can't hump your sister and I'm going to put you in jail for doing it, then I'm imposing my morals on you, which you just got done saying is bad. You just got done saying that's bad.
You're imposing like the lawful order of our society,
which was derived from my morals, Christian morals, derived from Christian morals that you can't help your sister. It's definitely imposed on people.
You wouldn't be able to have sex outside of marriage.
Yeah, so there are limits which secularists have fought back. But by the way, right? Inside of the United States Army and military forces, for instance, it is against the law for you to step out on your marriage. In some states, it's against the law for you to step out on your marriage, right? There is an imposition of will. So the question is why would you be okay with a brother humping the sister, but also be okay with me imposing my will that they can't? That's what's inconsistent.
Why would I be okay? Because you're not imposing your will. You're not saying you can't do this because I said so. You're doing this because IL section 638.28 says you can't do this.
You mean that section of the law that came about because some guy said, no, you can't do this because I'm going to put in this law based on my morality that says no?
No, it was an elected law that had to be voted in.
No, they weren't voted in. What do you mean? The politicians get voted in, but no.
In somehow. Like it wasn't just some Joe Schmo coming in and saying, hey, this is, nobody can do this because I say so, and we appeal to Joe Schmo.
I see. So the imposition of will is fine as long as it's collective. So as long as me and Christians collectively say that you're not allowed to do bigamy, then it's okay. As long as there's a collective of us.
You said as long as Christians say that? Well, Christians aren't writing the laws.
Yeah, so if Christians get together, let's say, and they go, well, no, on the polygamy thing, we're not going to allow it. We're going to impose that sexual morality just like we do on you having sex with your sister, right? And as long as we collectively agree and we collectively write a law, that now becomes moral?
No. And that's because the Christians wouldn't be writing those laws that we all have to abide by. Now, if they say we're not marrying polygamists in our church, then that's
weird.
Fine.
Well, that's weird. 40 years ago, I'm sorry, not 40, 50 years ago, 95% of the United States identified as being Christians. So if that's the case, then Christians were electing Christians and Christians were writing the laws, which all the non-Christians had to follow.
How long ago did you say that was?
I want to say 60 years, sorry.
60 years? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was before or just around the Glass-Steagall Act, right? So maybe my dates are a little off, but pretty close. I think it's pretty close. So in any case, 95% of the nation identified as being Christian. So that would be Christians who are writing.
It wasn't very popular until very recently to actually out yourself as being atheist, though.
What? Yes, it was. So the best thought.
60 years ago, was. As you just said, 60 years ago, 95% identified as Christians, and I would have said, and atheists were in the closet with the gays and everybody else.
Yeah, but this was before. So this was before the secular progressives began their mass indoctrination campaigns throughout the schools using Bolshevik communism. But and Bolshevik communists hate the church. The very first thing they did was kill the church. They shot Tsar Nicholas, shot the entire royal family who were Orthodox Christians, murdered them all, and then imposed communism on all of the Russians. And so this was the first constitution, by the way, that actually had secularism written into it, which is that there could not be a church in the state. There couldn't be, period. That's what they did. That's a communist thing, not a American thing. But this aside, my point is that, again, the inconsistency comes down to the imposition of will. This is what I have a problem with and I don't understand. It seems that you're neutral on a brother humping his sister because you're neutral on sex acts, that you don't think that they matter. And yet, on the other hand, if a collective of people want to impose that you can't have sex with your sister, you seem to have no problem with that. That's really, really weird.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that one more time? Somebody just walked in.
Yeah, so I'll say it again. So what's really strange to me is if you're neutral on sex acts, and yet a group of people get together and impose a law that you can't do a sexual thing, like hump your sister, you seem to be fine with that. That makes no sense to me.
Why would I need to abide to the group of people that say that? Like,
what do you mean?
I live in Illinois. I have to follow Illinois laws. All right, I have to follow the federal laws, of course.
Yeah.
If a bunch of Christians get around and say I can't do something, why would I care?
Because they throw you in prison just like they do a brother humping the sister.
Why would you're saying the Christians are saying this. And I'm saying, why would I care? They're not making
you're not even answering to the question. This is a complete red herring diversion. So let's try this again. You agree with me that if a brother humps his sister, they go to jail.
If a brother humps a sister in some states, it's based on the laws there, they go to
Well,
jail.
which
Correct.
states do you think they don't go to jail in?
One moment. You can see where they got decriminalized, I guess.
Thanks for coming on, Andrew. A little light energy for the day is great.
So in any case,
one moment. In the states of New Jersey, Rhode Island, incest between adults is legal. However, neither permits marriage. Is
so that's an imposition of will even then. So you still can't get married to them even though you love them. We're definitely imposing our will about sexual morality, even in those 2 states. And in all other 48 states, you go to jail for it. So how do you say, well, I'm neutral on people imposing their will on the sexual act and throwing these people in prison, right? But on the other hand, you say that, well, imposing your will is wrong when it comes to this morally neutral thing. That makes no sense.
1 second. I'm sorry. I have my kids coming into my room. Just give me a minute, all right?
Okay.
Yeah, no worries. So, Andrew, you having a good day today?
Well, yeah. I mean, starting off the morning with an incest argument is always my idea of a good time.
Well, I mean, what was funny is that when I brought her up we had a great discussion the other day, and I brought her back, or she came up today, and we were just going to talk just random stuff, and she's like, I really want to debate Andrew on this topic, and I'm like, well, okay, make sure you're ready, because this is like where he's at, And she's like, oh, I'm really worried about becoming as another meme, and I'm like, well, I don't know. Andrew matches energy with energy. I wouldn't be too worried about it. Just stay cool, and Andrew will match that energy. And then you appeared. Apparently, we said your name 3 times, and you appeared, which was great. It's awesome.
Well, this is my little hangout stream, right? I like to come in here and hang out when I don't have a ton going on. I'm enjoying the sunshine. I can come in and hang out, right?
Yeah, have a little light discussion, a little warm up.
Yeah. I don't think that this was brutal at all. It just kind of
no. I think
explaining
this
the
isn't
positions.
Brutal at all. Not at all.
No,
sorry.
I don't think so. So So let me ask this again, just so you understand.
I was about to try to steel man your position and
go ahead. You go ahead and steel man it. Yeah.
All right. So your position is that I am inconsistent because I am neutral with sexual morality, but then when people do in fact impose sexual morality on me, like the state, I'm okay with it. Is that essentially what you're telling me?
Well, and also that there was the idea that it's morally wrong to impose, you said to impose your will on sexual morality. So that was your position. So the complete steel man would be, you're neutral on sex, on sex acts. Okay, so we've established that that's true. And then we move to B, which is it's wrong to impose your will on people conducting sex acts. To C, which is then, okay, well then how come we impose our will on people doing all sorts of sex acts now, and you don't seem to give a shit?
Well, it's just because those are legal and those are the status quo, and it takes me a long time to get off of the current status quo of those laws.
Right. So then you would reform it in all 50 states so that incest was legal?
I think all 50 states will eventually get there to where adult incest is legal. I think that will happen and eventually pass us.
And is that your preference that it does happen?
Not particularly.
Why not?
I don't care. I care much more about my sex life and what I like to do. So, I mean, if adults want to do what adults want to do, I kind of don't care.
Right. So I mean, when you say not particularly, though, you wouldn't want there to be an imposition of the will of other people on somebody's sex life, right?
I mean, I can definitely think it's a bad idea. But
then that opens you up to the same criticism of, I think open relationships are a bad idea. Yeah. So So I'm just like, yeah, it totally, well, not just hypocritical, it's actually inconsistent. I don't care about hypocrisy so much, and here's why. An argument from hypocrisy to me is a very low tier argument, just saying, oh, you're a hypocrite. It's also fallacious to just kind of appeal to a hypocrisy, because you could be being hypocritical, but also be correct about what you're saying. What I'm saying here, though, is that it's inconsistent. The standard which you're applying is inconsistent. And that's why it makes no sense, right? It is hypocritical, that's true, but that's not really what I'm arguing against. Rather, there's just the inconsistency. So I don't understand. So if I think that if we were to go, for instance, to all the subjective moralists in the United States, and I was like, look, as emperor, right, I'm running against you in an election. You're running to be the empress, and I'm running to be the emperor. Okay, and we go out on the debate stage. This is going to be the last American election ever. Okay, and you go up and you're like, you give your spiel about open relations. People shouldn't have, the state impose and blah blah blah. And I come out and I go, nope. Listen, Emperor Andrew says that if you hump your sister, you're facing the wall. And if you hump roadkill, you're facing the wall. And if you hump a dead body, you're facing the wall. I think I get elected and you don't. Because I think most people's moral intuition is, yeah, I don't want that fucking degenerate ass shit in my society, right? Even if it's from a subjective purview, I think that. You know what I mean? And I mean, am I wrong? Don't you think most people would be like, yeah.
I think you're right. And now I'm like better coming around to your point. And again, it's just like, I think it just has to like go. Like, we can observe that the status quo has got us here so far, and like it was good for society, right? Yeah. And so when I say like it takes me a long time to move off the status quo, like I'm considering the fact that like those rules that we have currently, those like basic rules that kind of allow us to do what we want, save for those few things, got us to a functioning society, in that we are, not.
Yeah, but that's the thing. A functioning
and shit like that, right?
But yeah, I mean, you are. If you're a sister humping your brother, you definitely get yanked out of your house. There's case after case of them getting yanked out of their house in handcuffs. They go down to the station. They answer the questions. They go to prison.
Sure.
I mean, they're definitely getting their doors kicked in, right? It's just that nobody gives a shit as long as we're imposing on the sexual morality, which they choose to not participate, and we don't do it in the sexual immorality that they choose to participate in. That's why I have a big problem with this. The inconsistency is so over the top that it's hard to even for me to rationalize that people can rationalize it, if that makes sense to you. So, for instance, do you believe in the idea of female narcissism?
Yes.
Great. So then I got to ask you this question. Assuming that it would make for society just to become a little tiny bit more stable, just a little bit, maybe just your neighborhood, right? Or 2 neighborhoods, or let's say 5, but that's it. No more than 5 neighborhoods. It would make 5 neighborhoods a little bit more stable if you didn't have an open relationship. Would you stop it? Would you stop having one?
Not even a little.
Okay. What if it would make the United States a lot more stable if you personally stopped having an open relationship?
No.
Would you do it then? No? Yeah. So then the thing is what I gather from this, and this is basically all degenerates I talk to, is that they're fucking selfish, right? They just really don't give a fuck about anybody but themselves. And so when they kind of make these broad appeals to the stability of society and how they want society to actually be stable, and is the kind of the most stable system to just let everybody engage in whatever sexual impropriety they want. If you offer the counter that even if the opposite was true, would you then do it? They still say no, which makes me think they don't really give a fuck about the stability of society. They only care about them.
No, we didn't cause the stability of society. We are a side effect of a stable society.
Well, so you're the instability element?
No, we're not the instability element. We are a side effect of society being stable. When we don't have to care about if our water is clean, I get to have an open relationship. So.
Yeah, but I mean, society is definitely not stable right now at all.
It's the best time to live than there ever was.
Says who?
You don't want to go back in another time.
Yes, you definitely. There's many other times which probably would have been better to live in. Yes.
What time do you think is a better time to live in than today?
Probably 1962. Probably 1973. Probably 1973. Probably 1959.
No.
Probably 1930s, 1940s Italy would have been pretty good. I think
if you love your family, you wouldn't pick any other time than today.
Why? That's bizarre.
Because you want the resources from today. It's not that you don't.
You had tons of resources. What resources were you lacking in 1962?
If your child had cancer, you would want the oncologist from today. Your child
hang on. But the rates of cancer were far removed lower.
You just couldn't find them because you didn't have the testing that you have today.
No, it's not that you couldn't find them. The society was not sicker. There was far less mental illness. There was far less of these types of cancers.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. How many fat people are there today versus 1960? And is
I'm not saying we don't have our issues. I'm just saying we live in the most productive, the most leisurely, the most prosperous time in history.
No, you don't. That's just made up. That's just made up liberal tripe.
Any other time, and I would never trade places with any other time than right the fuck now.
This is made up tripe. It's just made up. It's like, okay, so
the shit that matters that we.
So if you're mental, if the side effect of technology is that you become a sexual degenerate and you become mentally ill and you become fucking obese and sit in your house and fap all day, and men no longer can even talk to women, but you're comfortable because you can stick your fucking Eggo waffle in the syrup pot, smear it around, and then carve it into your face. Why is that a better time to live? Because you can do that. It seems like it's a better time when you can't do that. It seems like that's a better time.
Then didn't mean that you don't have far greater issues. I want the medical care and the vaccinations and everything that we have today. If my child goes missing, I want everybody in their God device to blow up like it does today. I want the search and rescue drones from today. I want
they didn't have those in this. Do you think that in the 1960s that the search dogs were having trouble finding people in the mountains or what? And not only that,
they did what they could. They did what they could, but they didn't have it like they have it today. They don't.
It was better. It was way more stable. People didn't even lock their doors. They weren't locking their doors. They weren't worried about criminality.
Now, but okay.
What's that?
I said I'm pretty sure we actually crime is on a downtrend and we commit less violent crime.
That's because abortions are on the uptrend. And so if you look at the elements of minorities in massive major demographic areas, they're decreasing through abortion. If you read a book called Freakonomics, it dives into this and explains that it's the lower socioeconomic element which is being aborted, and so that leads to less crime, which tracks. But even in the 60s, most of America had no problem with crime. Just like right now, it was in a few areas, and it was overwhelming in those areas, and people stayed away from them.
And you still want the justice system and the DNA testing from today?
Yeah, I mean, what do you mean? Why would that matter? Crime was still super low.
You want everything from today. I'm sorry. It's like you're spoiled, and you want to idolize a time from the past.
Right. So it's just pure hedonism. Yeah, your whole thing is like you kind of act like we must, in order to embrace modern technology, remove the stabilizing factor of the ideology pre-technology and slothing.
No, it just means
why is it that you can't have why can't you have all modern medicine, all modern machinery, all modern technology, and still also not being a coomer fucking degenerate sloth? I don't get that.
Because we chose our battles, we chose what mattered. We decided we don't care if our neighbors are gay, but we care if their music's too loud.
No, we never decided that. Almost every place where gay marriage was the thing which ended up on the ballot, it was voted down. The Supreme Court ruled on it instead. And because what happens when it's left to the people? They do care, just like they care about incest, just like they care about humping dead bodies. Okay, the proposition for gay marriage in California failed. In California, it failed because they were like, nope, we don't want it. That was imposed on us, you see. It was not something which we chose, it was imposed. And so this kind of bizarre, super bizarre idea, by the way, that we can't have modern toasters because we have to be coomers is just absurd to me.
No, the coomers are just a side effect.
I agree. They're a side effect of modernity, right?
Mhm.
But this is a trapping of
Can't be
modernity.
scapegoated for any sort of downfall.
It is. We are in free fall. We're in free fall because, like you just said, yeah. Okay. So what do you think the reproduction crisis is going to lead to when half of China is gone?
The reproduction crisis. Well, I mean, we're going to have an older class of workers, and we're going to automate more in the next 15 to 20 years. That's just going to happen. And we will.
I don't know that we can automate much more. I hate to step in here, but
we're in the
don't
infancy of automation. What are you talking about? Infancy.
I don't know.
Infancy.
Well, Andrew might know. He worked in a factory for a long time. He might know.
Yeah, we're just now.
And he's an engineer. I dimly recall he's an engineer.
Yeah, he works in food robotics. I know what he does. And he'll tell you, we are upscaling our manufacturing in America, in all freaking countries, actually. And we are going heavy into automation in the next 20 years.
And?
That's going to basically...
Automation's not going to save you.
Automation is going to basically pave the way for an older working class. And
no. Well, that's what the Japanese thought. They had been working on automation for the last 50 years. Unfortunately, you just can't get past that whole human problem of needing human beings around to wipe the old people's asses and give them their pills.
Automate 70% of something, not...
You can't automate 70% in nursing? You thinking, what? You think in 30 years we're going to be automating 70% of nursing?
I don't think we're going to automate 70% of nursing, but when it comes to those factories and those hard jobs and things like that, I think we can get way more automation on those things, especially when it comes to...
No. Most of these meat packing plants, things like this, the trades died because progressives put out this mantra: you must go to college. Go to college, go to college, go to college, get a degree, get a degree, get a degree. The trades died off. Right. It's only just now picking back up. Most of the people who are in the trades, who kept all that old machinery running inside those factories, they're dying off. They're dying off. And no automation.
That your best welders now are going to be your best QA guys when there's more automation. That's what I'm saying.
No, what I'm saying is that there's not going to be an automation the way that you think of it. It's not possible. Logistics don't account for allowing 70% of things to be automated.
Well, I didn't say we were going to get to 70%. I was saying, in theory, you don't try to automate 100% of something. You try to automate the first 50 to 70% of something to make it easier for somebody else to do.
If you remove 60 or 70% of the world's population because you don't reproduce, you're still going to have all of those jobs done. You're still going to need to have all that timber cut. You're going to need to have all those roads paved. You're still going to need to have all of those things. And it's not scalable because what happens is when you take one person and you add another person to a labor pool, it doesn't double your output, it quadruples it.
So it's all gloom and doom because of the birth rate. All gloom and doom.
Well, the cooming, it's all due to the destruction of the independent family unit. Yes, that's why the reproduction...
fear-mongering when I hear it, and I don't think the world is going to collapse because the birth rate is going down. What's wrong with having
I don't know,
1920? You like 1920 so much.
The major fall of almost every major population on planet Earth has been due to population collapse. Almost all of them. You run out of people, and the ones who are left don't reproduce. What's that?
Go ahead. I didn't hear what you said.
I said population collapse is what has led to the extinction of more populations. Like, for instance, let's take the Native Americans, for instance. Okay? When the Native Americans got their population reduced by, 80% due to smallpox over 200 years, this could be equated and akin to them just not reproducing at the rate of 80% for 200 years. Do you think that Native Americans have a healthy population or a less healthy population?
You're really talking about Native Americans got genocide out? Seriously? And then blaming it on their population? They weren't having enough babies to sustain themselves when they... Really?
No, what I'm doing is I'm giving you a basic math formula, and your incredulity is not answering to it. Okay. Let us assume for a minute, right, as you make your argument from incredulity, and go, really? Really? Yes, really. So, really, what happened is over the course of hundreds of years, due to a foreign contamination, not a mind virus, but a physical one in this case, it led to a mass die-off of this huge population. The ones who were left over were so small in number that they could not reproduce rapidly enough to ever build the population back up again. Even now they can't. There's too few of them, right? You have to hit a critical mass. So you can, now let's juxtapose a different contaminant. This now is a social contaminant. And the social contaminant leads to the same amount of natives just simply not dying. They just don't reproduce. You end up with the same population collapse.
Okay, so same amount of people not having babies after a genocide. Whether it be from a contagion, whether that be a mind contagion or a natural contagion.
Yeah, you can have a natural or a social contagion and end up with the same result.
Okay.
If you have no children and you die, okay, versus you could have had children and you die, the result is still the same thing, right? No children.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so regardless of why there's no child, whether you died from a disease or whether you died because you just decide not to have the child, you're still a reproductive dead end, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this would be the same exact thing here. So if a social contagion is introduced, which leads to a massive contraction of the population, you're going to hit a critical mass the other direction where there's not enough population left to reproduce itself. This happens, by the way, with animal species all over planet Earth. That's why we have endangered species. Why can't we get elephants back up to where we need elephants to be, or zebras, or any number of these different endangered species? It's because once the population gets so small, you cannot reproduce it rapidly enough in order to get it back up to, to where it needs to be to not go extinct. That's why there's no buffalo, right? Even though there was some, there just wasn't enough to reproduce.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a huge problem, right? Human reproduction's never had this issue. We've never been globally under birth rate replacement. It only takes a couple generations before you're in population collapse. Not fear mongering; it's the opposite of fear mongering. Pointing out a huge dynamic problem. And here's why I think it's a problem that's your problem, and why it is that I have such staunch opposition to people who think like you. I'll explain. Let us assume for a second that this is going to be the last generation on planet Earth. The very last one. And then all human beings wink out of existence, okay? And you are approached, and here's what you're told. We can either introduce a small amount of discomfort into everybody's life, okay? And then the human species will continue. Or this is going to be the most comfortable humans will ever live again forever, but this will be the last generation of them. Which would you choose?
I'm definitely taking that comfort route.
You're definitely taking the comfort route, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so the thing is that what it shows me again, over and over and over, is that the continuation of humanity doesn't matter. You just kind of have the mindset of, give me that shit. And so the Christian ethic is to create cross-generational wealth value and create cross-generational stability. That's what we're supposed to do. We're ordered to multiply and take care of our offspring, set them up for set them up for good lives, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? But our primary edict is that we're supposed to multiply and have families and continue the human species, right? Almost at any cost. Whereas yours is like, well, I don't know. If there's a slight amount of discomfort, let's just let them all fucking wink out of existence. Fuck them. It's just like, you can see from my end that is pure unadulterated evil from my perspective.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from for sure. I just don't think that Christians necessarily have like the claim to morality or ethics or duty. Like, I have kids. I'm in a long-term relationship. I have no criminal record. I consider myself quite dutiful, and I say what I mean, and I mean what I say, and I tend to follow through with those things. So
yeah, but your worldview is also plagued with ideological inconsistencies which make no sense, all for the purpose of you being able to coom. Like, you do mental gymnastics all for the purposes of cooming. And when I point these massive inconsistencies out, how their social plagues, what they're actually leading to when it comes to lack of reproduction, when it comes to an advancement of societal instability, you're like, yeah, but we have cancer treatment and shit. So who cares? If we're the most comfortable we've ever been and humanity goes extinct, oh, well, it was a good run, baby. It was a good run.
I just think that you definitely live in the most privileged time. And like, we should be thankful for it. And like, I just don't buy the whole you would want to trade it. I don't think like you're a good parent if you want to like, you know, move your kid back to where they can get polio. It's just dumb to me. Like,
I don't understand why you bifurcate
for today.
It's such a bifurcation to have to imagine that I can't have a polio vaccine and also not have a degenerate society.
I don't know.
like the two are mutually exclusive. Well, do you really want to go back to when you were a kid?
Degeneracy has been ubiquitous all throughout history. Can you point to me a time where like there hasn't been degeneracy?
Well, I can point to you a time.
There was definitely some degeneracy.
I can point to you a time right this second where degeneracy was definitely kept under control by the power of the state and the will of the people. Yeah, absolutely. In the 60s, being a homosexual was against the law, right? It was against the law. And the sexual revolution from a bunch of feminist lunatics who decided that a nuclear family, which was the backbone stability, are you trying to say that if the nuclear family had continued and we had the state had only promoted that instead of gays and lesbians and open relationships and all this other shit, are you saying that we would be technologically regressive?
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, of course not. It's ridiculous. So the truth is that had that been promoted, right, I think we would be even more technologically progressive and have a more stable society absent degeneracy.
No, I don't think you can scapegoat the degeneracy. When we decided to not focus on gays being gays, you get revolutions of your own. And
no, what revolutions?
We put more of our energy. Put more of our energy into scientific, advancements, and we stop caring about if our colleagues, what religion they practice or what they do in the off time.
Yeah.
The scientists can work together. So yeah, our tolerance of other people and different lifestyles does help.
The scientists in the 60s who were flying to the moon, yet now in modernity say, well, we lost all the technology. We can't get back there. We can't get back there. They have this society that was filled with all these oppressive, hate-filled lunatics who oppressed degeneracy and yet made rocket ships that flew us to other planets.
Oh, yeah, they did a lot. Nuts. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm just saying, when
and
we
I'm
don't
sure that had
there's degeneracy, we can actually accomplish more.
Yeah, and I'm sure that all of the elderly people who are walking around with their mouths, what the fuck happened? This place used to be great. Those people are just lunatics.
We lost what you said, Andrew.
Yeah, I said I'm guessing that all of those elderly people who are walking around with their mouths open going, what the fuck happened to this place? It used to be pretty nice. And then you fucking destroyed it. What's with all these gays everywhere? What's with all these feminists everywhere? What the fuck is this bullshit?
Well,
those guys were alive. They were alive.
The next generation is doing a shit job.
That's cope. That's cope. And it's unprovable cope.
Think that the sky is falling and that everything is going down and that, the population is falling, then usually
that's pure cope. There's people who are alive today, who were alive then, who objectively say it was better then. Okay. Objectively.
It means like, they're getting old. Everybody thinks that when
they're just getting old. Okay. Yeah, they're just, and once you get old.
Good old days, Nothing speaks to the good old days but a bad memory. Isn't that like
hang on. You get dumber with age, huh? And you get smarter with youth?
I think that actually is true. You do kind of lose yourself.
You do? You get dumber with age and smarter with youth, and a bunch of 20-year-olds should rule society, and all of the... Yeah, okay, that's ancient. There's a difference between somebody who has dementia and somebody who's 63 years old who's seen a lot in their life.
Okay,
you think that
clearly
remembers. You think that 65-year-old men are less wise than 20-year-olds? Yeah, 65-year-old men are dumber than 20-year-olds.
No,
like
that's
what?
Not true. But like the time frame that you're thinking of, like my grandparents, let me think when my grandma was born. I think it was 29. She was telling me about making herself large sandwiches for school. I give my kids Go-Gurts and Lunchables 5 days a week, and you can bet I would sign up for that shit all day long and twice on Sunday. I'm giving my kids Go-Gurt and Lunchables, and I'm not making them large sandwiches. I'm sorry.
Why not?
Believe you. I don't think you want to.
Why would Go-Gurt and a fucking processed lunch meat be better than a large sandwich? What?
It is.
No, it's not.
Your kids eat meat every day. You don't want to go back.
They don't eat fucking Go-Gurt every day. And yes, my kids eat mostly meat in their diet because I want them healthy.
And you don't want to go back. You don't want to go back.
What do you think lard is? Lard is meat. Lard is
fat. Lard is fat.
You fat from what?
It's fat. It's not meat.
From what?
Not protein.
Well, where does fat come from? Where does lard?
It's not meat.
Where does lard come from?
It is fat. It's not meat.
From what?
It comes from an animal, but it is not meat.
Yes, it comes from an animal.
Not the same.
And what are animals made out of?
They're made out of lots of things.
They're made out of meat. They're made out of meat.
But you cannot pass off a lard sandwich and be just like, here, it's good for society. No.
You think? Oh, because your grandmama had to eat a lard sandwich once?
Yeah,
my
and
God.
I would never give my kid a lard sandwich.
Yeah, they get Go-Gurt. They get processed garbage, which is why the obesity rate 60%.
Hey, you know what? My kids are fed and they didn't eat lard, and they're happy.
I mean, yeah, they're fat and happy, and that's what matters, right? It doesn't matter. The degenerate. Well, I thought that's what you just said.
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, I thought you just said they're fat and happy.
Oh, I was like, no. If I did say that, I say that shit all the time. I'm done.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, okay, I don't think that the Go-Gurt and the processed lunch meat is a good reason why we need to have Coomers. Okay, I don't think so. I don't think it is.
A result of the Coomers.
It's not a result of the Coomers. It's a result of still people reproducing and having families. Those are the inventive people. Those are the people making the money. Those are the people propelling society forward. Where's all of our open relationship politicians who are letting people bang their wives? They don't exist.
Yeah, I don't want them to either.
Yeah, I don't want them to either, because I don't want a Coomer fucking society. Thanks. And if we got to legislate against it, I think that that's fine. That you can have your proctal cancer reading, that you can still have your vaccines and your rectal exams and still not be a fucking degenerate. So it's almost like I think we can have our cake and eat it too.
No, you have to put aside the things that you need to like not care about, like your gay neighbors, to get to this point in society that we're in.
Yeah, but I do care,
and you don't.
I do care about degeneracy. Yeah, no, because you're only making it appeal to technology. Why can't we go back to a worldview? Why do we have to eliminate technology to go back to a worldview? That makes no sense. I pointed this out 50 times. Like, if I believe in Platonic forms, does that mean that I reject cancer treatment? No, that's insane.
It does mean that you
that's
don't want to go back.
Literally insane.
It does mean that you don't want to go back.
No, it doesn't. Go back to what? Go back to other technology that's not as sophisticated? Sure, but that has nothing to do with worldviews.
Okay.
Like, my worldview is not going, well, you know, in order for us to have all this great technology and video games, you know, you gotta let dudes fuck your wife. I don't think that those two are equatable in any way, shape, or form. No, but you did say that, because if I made an imposition, yes, you did, because if I made an imposition on society, well, then what are we going back to then?
Are we
going back to an ideology?
I was simply saying, given the choice, you would never go back to that time. And you're saying, well, I can have my cake and eat it too. And I think we can legislate all the degeneracy away. We can have our cake and eat it too. And I'm saying good fucking luck with that, because we're all too comfortable here. And you don't actually care if your neighbors are gay.
No, I do care. I actually care about degeneracy in society. Yes, I think
your own shows for entertainment purposes only. You don't take yourself seriously.
What do you mean? So are you saying that because I can? I could be.
You would have some sort of political lean, or you would have some sort of religious mission, and you don't. Your show is for entertainment purposes only. You do fearmonger. You do overshoot things, and this is for entertainment. We are not.
I'm sorry. Seriously. I'm sorry. That's super weird. The president of the United States, Donald Trump, is super entertaining, right?
He's not the president, honey.
Okay, but he was when he was the president. Right, and hopefully he will be again after doddering fucking Biden gets the fuck out of there. Worst debate performance in the history of mankind, by the way. Was Donald Trump super entertaining, or wasn't he?
No, he was pretty entertaining.
It was pretty entertaining, but wait a second. That means that he must not have actually meant any of the things that he said. It means that he must not have any alternative mission or anything that he's doing, nothing like that, because after all, he's really entertaining. He's saying that because I can debate in an entertaining way and have a debating show, or an entertaining show, that I can't put on things which are entertaining to people because it brings the viewership in. People enjoy being entertained. but still can't hold right-wing positions, can't say that I care about degeneracy in society, say that my preference is nuclear families. That literally doesn't track in any way, shape, or form.
I mean, it is for entertainment purposes. I don't think we should take you actually that seriously. I really
Well, I think we should take anybody who allows their wife to get fucked by other men far less seriously than you should take me. That's what I think.
That's fair.
Okay.
You don't have to take me seriously either. Please don't.
Yeah.
Don't follow
but
me.
I mean, I'm just.
Oh, did we lose him again?
Andrew, you there, buddy?
Do you hear him? Okay.
Yeah, I think something happened. You guys both glitched out for a second.
Oh, no.
And then when you came back, your avatar came back, but his didn't. So I think he's slowly.
No.
Just as a point of fact, though, large sandwiches are actually healthier for you than anything that you're feeding your kids.
I'm sure they are. That wasn't the point. It's just, speaking to like where we are in society. It's like, yeah, no. My mother, my grandmother had to scrape lard to make her sandwich for school. It's like it's not who we are anymore.
Yeah, there's actually as a point. I mean, it's just a point of fact that they are. Actually,
Oh no! I mean, I went camping once and I ate a can of Spam. Like, oh my god, it's the end of the world. I better go coom. I gotta coom my eyes out. I ate a can of Spam once. It's over. It's over. I'm going right now. Where can I find a local gangbang? I gotta look this up real quick. I ate a can of Spam one time.
I'll look one up for you, Andrew. It's okay.
I'm sure you would.
You need a glory hole while you're at it.
I don't know. That seems to be more your department than mine. Just saying, a little bit more in your department than my department. All
right, no problem.
So anyway, I got to get going though, guys. Appreciate the convo, and you have a good day.
Andrew.
I really appreciate you, Andrew, and that was a great back and forth.
All right, guys. Appreciate it. You take good care of yourself.
Andrew. Yep. Bye bye.